The Class 303, otherwise known as the Blue Train, was an icon of the Suburban lines in Glasgow, Scotland. 91 examples of this three-car design were built by the Pressed Steel Company, and had a very long service life lasting from 1960 to 2002. Unfortunately, these classic EMUs were mostly done dirty in Train Simulator. This add-on was released by Dovetail in January 2015, but it is a rehash of the old Iron Horse House model from 2013, albeit with only one livery included, in the form of Strathclyde Transport Orange and Black. The original pack included British Rail Blue and Grey plus one extra Strathclyde livery. Why Dovetail removed those liveries for their 303 re-release is anyone's guess. This model only depicts a refurbished 303. You don't get the original variant that had wrap-round cab windows and a glass partition between the cab and passenger saloon. I prefer how the 303s looked in their unrefurbished condition, especially in the all-over light blue livery that they had when they were brand new. As if the lack of liveries and model variations weren't bad enough, the default sounds on this thing are atrocious. I'll start off by demonstrating the horn, which is recycled from the default Coogee era Class 37. Not helping the situation is the unit's limited functionality, and the doors don't make any noise at all. It may not surprise anyone to know that I prefer the Armstrong Powerhouse / Master Key Class 37 over the ancient Coogee thing. I think the motor sounds are reused from the default Class 4214 SIG or Class 455-9, presumably because that was the nearest thing Dovetail had got to a 303's motors. I noticed years ago that, once you're on the move, the unit will be borderline silent when the throttle is closed, even as you're rushing along at the better part of 69 miles per hour. Dovetail did a terrible job with this update to the IHH Class 303, but I'm not surprised that they haven't bothered to fix it after all this time. Even after playing Train Simulator for 10 years now, it's still a rare thing for me to find a train whose sounds are so bad that she's borderline undrivable. A few months after the main pack's release, Armstrong Powerhouse released a sound pack for the Class 303 that actually makes this unit drivable. Just like all their old sound packs, this one only cost £5 at the time. In my opinion, this is one of AP's better products, but I'm still very disappointed in their more recent practices, especially if the existence of that absurd cloud enhancement pack is anything to go by, not to mention the unreasonable price of newer packs like the Class 50, Class 4114 SEP, and updated Class 142 Pacer. For starters, the new horn recordings are much nicer, and it doesn't sound anything like the reused Class 37 horn. The doors now have a proper beeping sound and a much more realistic animation. Not all the sounds could be recorded from a real 303, as, while a complete unit is preserved in real life, she is not in working order. I remember reading somewhere that the motor recordings are from a Class 455, but please correct me if I'm wrong. You also got one scenario for the West Coast Main Line North route, as well as a new livery in the form of SPT Carmine and Cream. There was also a variant of Strathclyde Orange and Black with SPT logos, but I don't really count that as a new livery. Unfortunately, due to the way the auto-numbering is set up, you can't have the exact carriage numbers to 100% accurately recreate the preserved 303 that resides at Bowness. As demonstrated here, you can still place the Carmine and Cream trailer coach in between two Strathclyde Orange and Black driving coaches, as per the real thing, but you'll only be able to show the numbers for unit 303023 or 303032. For reference, the middle coach on the real unit is number 61503 from unit 303023, while the driving coaches are numbers 75597 and 75632, both from unit 303032. Sadly, the Class 303 sounder pack is no longer available. For whatever reason, AP have discontinued all of their sounder packs except the one for the Class 390 Pendolino. Why they did this is still a mystery to me, and it's a great shame too, given that people who didn't manage to get the sound pack are now stuck with the awful default unit. I absolutely cannot recommend the default Class 303, but I would have been able to if the AP sound pack was still available. If you're after a suitable EMU to run on the Suburban lines in Glasgow, you'd be better off waiting until the long overdue Class 318 is finally released, or picking up the existing Class 314, Class 320, or Class 385. The 385 is included with the Glasgow to Dunblane route. Speaking of Scottish EMUs, I've never understood why we still don't have the Class 334 Juniper in TS, especially when a large section of the North Clyde line is in the game, going from High Street all the way to Helensburgh Central. Even though this add-on is rather old, I still think it's important to revisit history and show just how bad Dovetail's quality control can really be. Sadly, they have rarely, if ever, learned from their mistakes in the 8 years since the re-release of the Class 303.